and I hear the first officer call out, and then the first officer jumps on the radio and he screams, "Holy shit, it's the goat man!" And I mean, it's just like everything went quiet, and I could hear the ringing in my ears, and I could feel my heart race, and so I hit my light and I went flying up there.
I've been told by some older people, elders, that you grab them and you hold them and you don't own them, but you hold them there until daylight. If you can hold them or pull them into the light, it destroys anything they have, any kind of power or anything they were trying to do to you. It'll destroy them.
This guy was like bouncing, like, you know, like how you see people kind of getting ready to jig, you know how they kind of bounce? Yeah, he was like that way. He was just kind of bouncing, and he was just kind of going back and forth on one foot to the other. And he just kind of turned sideways, and he turned back over to the other way, and he took off. Holy shit, he jumped in Wanda.
This is Lodge Tales. I'm your host, Rod Williamson, and thanks again for joining us on another episode. If you are Native American and you'd like to come on the show to share your strange and paranormal experiences, please consider emailing us at lodgetales@gmail.com. Well, hello everyone. This episode we have Angelo BullPlume, and it's a long story. And this story could be made into a movie. It's a long story, but the end has a really powerful twist to it, and it's a personal story from Angelo, and I'm glad he shared it with us. I know it was hard for him to tell the end of the story, but I just wanted to give you guys the whole story and not break it up into two podcasts. I want it to be released all as one. And I know it's a long one. But, just get through it. Pause it whenever you have to. It's well worth the listen. And, wow. That's all I gotta say is wow. This story it's kind of heart-wrenching, really, you know. It makes me feel sad for a number of reasons, but I don't want to give anything away. And, Angelo's mom, she had a lot of dreams about certain things that were happening during this 3-day period of Angelo's life. I would just like to point out again how powerful dreams can be. They are pretty powerful. I just like to let everyone know Jenny's the one that made all this happen. This podcast here with Angelo. Thank you, Jenny. Thank all the patrons, all the listeners for being here once again. I really appreciate you guys showing interest and being willing to put up with my learning curves. And again, I apologize for my dog. You can hear him all throughout the podcast doing that big sigh of his when he's laying here. There's a few background noises in there. Again, apologize for all that. But let's go ahead and get into the story. Well, welcome back to Lodge Tales, everyone. We're back at it again, and this episode, our guest is Angelo BullPlume, and he's got a ghost story to talk about that happened to him years ago. But if you would, Angelo, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of walk us into your story.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name's Angelo, BullPlume. I'm a full-blood Blackfeet. Been here on a reservation pretty much all my life. Yeah, I married a Blackfeet girl, Blackfeet lady, Leanne Wells. Her parents are Arthur and Olive Wells. I know many of you Blackfeet who are listening might know who I'm talking about. My parents is Dan BullPlume, and my mother, she's Ellis Calftail. Her maiden name is Calftail, and of course she's married to my dad, so she's BullPlume. Yeah, I was born in '64 here in Browning. We lived here in Moxon Flat for many years, and then my folks moved south of Harbutte to Blacktail. That's pretty much where I grew up. Went to school in Harbutte till the 8th grade, and there's more than just one. What that I've had, several spooky encounters as well. I've listened to the podcast and found many of the stories that you shared. A lot of them are really interesting.
Yeah.
And the other night, I fell asleep listening to Jenny. Yeah, rest in peace.
Right.
Well, I wrote this story a few years ago, and we were sitting around one evening, and everybody's telling ghost stories, and I couldn't share the story. I mean, we talked about it, me and my wife, been like many times over and over. What we experienced. I was looking for a part-time job years ago,
Mhm.
and I had a friend who was a mortician, and I was talking to him about I was looking for a part-time job, and he offered me a part-time job, and so I took him up on it. So yeah, well, he told me what I'd be doing, and if I was he said squeamish or get weirded out around corpses, because he said be working with a lot of dead bodies and families. And he said this is not a job to do if you're that kind of person. You got to be professional. People are grieving at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So he pretty much showed me everything what to do. And but anyway, when I first he told me I'd be going on runs to be picking up people who had passed. He said sometimes they're with the family, and if there's a physician, with the body at home, he said, or in a hospital, and he said there would be they'll call us and we'll go pick them up, or if they have to be embalmed, they'll get embalmed first, then we'll pick them up. I mean autopsies, excuse me. Then we'll pick them up after all that's done. And so my first call that I went on, it was just like, I don't know, the day after I talked to him, he asked me if I'd do a pickup in Great Falls. Before I went to do that pickup, the day before I was going to the hospital, I woke up that morning. I was sick, and I always remember because I wasn't drinking. I didn't drink that time.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up with a real bad headache and nauseated and throwing up phlegm and stuff like that. And so I told my wife, I said, "Man, I'm really sick. I'm gonna go to the hospital, see what's wrong." So I headed in. We lived on a boarding school road, that time. I headed into the hospital and on the way in. You know how you hear all the ambulance and police and fire trucks, stuff like that. There are sirens that go in when there's emergencies.
Yeah.
I was driving in up to, what is it, 464 to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard this, sirens there. And from where I could see there, you can see them heading out past Town Pump. I didn't pay much attention. I just went to the hospital, and just when I was pulling that parking lot, and that phone rang. It was my cell phone. It was, and back then, they had those big old, they looked like house phones, but you plug them into a cigarette lighter.
Yeah.
Cell phone. It's before them little tiny flip phones come out.
And what year was
Anyway,
this?
Oh, geez, this was about, I'd say about 30, 35 years ago now, something like that.
Wow.
Something like that, yeah. I was thinking 40 years ago the other day, but it's about 30 years, yeah, 30, 35 years ago, something like that. But anyhow, it was my mom. I answered the phone, and she said she needed to talk to me, She said, come out to the house. She lived in Harvey. She said, come to the house as soon as you can. I said, well, I'm just going in the hospital. I'm really sick, Mom, and I'll see what's going on. I told her I was throwing up all morning, had a bad headache, and a little fever going, and she said, well, as soon as you're done, have your brother drive you out. So I went in the hospital, and you know how long you wait after you go in there. You check in, and usually they bring you to triage, but if during the day, you have to sit there,
Yeah.
Anyway, I went in there, emergency room, and I signed up, and a lot of people in there, and I waited and waited. This is about 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, something like that in the morning. And I waited pretty much all morning, and then after, I think it was about 1:30 or something like that, they finally called me. I went in there, and doctors checked me out, took my temperature. He said, well, you got a fever, and they how doctors give you a once-over, and next thing you come back, he said, well, everybody's getting, it's like a one-day flu thing. Okay. He said, well, get you some antibiotics, and he said, just drink a lot of fluids, get some rest, and take the antibiotics,
Mm-hmm.
And I said, all right. So I left the hospital, and then I went looking for my brother David. I looked all over for him. I couldn't find him anywhere, because I was sick, and I wanted him to drive me out to Harvey. I just didn't want to take that, that drive, the headache, 60-mile round trip, and then have to sit there for a while and see what my mom wanted. She's really persistent. My mom, if she wants you to do something, you got to do it and get it done with,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, finally I headed out there myself, and she asked for my brother when I got there. I said, what's going on, Mom? What did you want to talk to me about? And she just said, have a seat. She said, she just spoke right on. She said, I seen you in a dream, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me, she said, in my dream, you was helping some guy, and this guy was going somewhere, and he had to go somewhere or something like that. And she said, but she didn't know where he was going in her dream, She said, but you were helping him. She said, you in the end, you were helping this guy, whatever he was doing, but he stayed with you in your house. I said, did you know who he was in a dream? Did you having it. She said, I don't know who he was. She said, it was just some guy that knew you guys.
Hmm.
I said, oh, okay. And anyway, she said in her dream that he stayed with us for like 3 or 4 days or something. I think she said 3 days. And she said, "Oh, while he stayed there in your house," she said, "in those 3 days, and that he stayed there in your house in my dream." She said that things were just not right in your house. And I said, "What do you mean things weren't right?" She said, "I didn't know." She said, "I just knew that things weren't right. She was telling me to be careful, you know. Well, you know what happens. She said, be careful in the next few days." She said, "I think," she said, "you know, the Lord shows me stuff or something like that through her dreams, or the Lord shows her things for her reason, or something like that."
Mm-hmm.
And I just told her, I said, "Well, be careful, Mom." And about that time, my brother came out. It must have been about 8 o'clock. He came out. Him and his woman that he was with then. And I was just heading out for Browning. I was walking out. He was heading in. He said, "What you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm heading back to Browning." I told you I was looking all over for you today. I wanted you to drive for me to come out. Come out here. I told him I was really sick. You know, I've been in the hospital. He said, he's telling me, he said, "Did you hear about that wreck?" I said, "No. He said, a wreck, somebody got killed on 89. You know, I was heading back to town anyway, so I thought I'd go through 89 just to get kind of nosy. But that place where there's a car wreck, it was a truck. It was just like, it reminded me of something being rolled up into a ball. The way that truck looked, the way it must have rolled, you know.
Oh.
I mean, he must have been going fast.
Jeez.
And there was a couple of cops, and I think it was a highway patrol, and I don't know if it was BIA or tribal then. There was one of those in the record there, you know. It's only ones that were left there. Yeah, that truck was still there, and but whoever was driving that truck, you know, it passed away. So I turned on 89 after I passed that truck to turn on 89, and I was heading towards Brown, and I seen this guy walking on the road, so I, you know, see a native walking, I always pull over and pick him up, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, pretty much anyway, native or not, so I see him walking, I'll give him a ride. I knew how it is when you're walking on the road and nobody will pick you up.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, it was one of my old friends, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped, and he had a duffel bag and jumped in. And, "What you doing?" He shook his head. Nothing, you know, and where you headed? And he didn't say anything. He just pointed towards Browning, you know, towards the front of the car. Mm-hmm. It's really kind of quiet, you know, all the way to Browning. Didn't say much, you know. Ask him a question, his answer was just yes or no, or shake his head, shoulders, you know, like didn't know, you know.
Yeah.
Really didn't talk. So I come driving in and pulling into Browning, and I told him, I said, "What's he going to go to your house?" He's a friend of mine. He's Jason. And I knew where he lived and everything. And he just told me, he said, "Can't go home right now." And he asked if he could sleep at our place. He was talking about having to clear his head or something, you know. He said he wanted to stay for a couple of days anyway. And I told him, "Yeah, well, let me tell Leanne, and you know, it should be all right. Should be okay." You know, we had like 8 trailers out there that were fixing up, you know.
Yeah.
Would either buy them cheap or they'd be donated, and would strip them down just to the shell and the tin.
Yeah.
Strip the floor out, everything, and would redo them. One of these trailers, we made it into like just like the one room, like a motel room, just one room, and there was at the end there was like a place to get water and shower, and stuff. And I think we called that the 5-door because it was 5 bedrooms in there. I think we put in that one trailer just by stripping it all out and just putting one rooms in there and putting beds in there and stuff like that. And, yeah, and we'd use it for like people who are would get kicked out of their homes or need a place to stay, or stuff like that.
Mm.
But anyway, we put him up in one of them rooms. I told Leanna, she said, it's been all right, heck, we knew him a long time. Just knew him seemed like forever,
Mm.
And I brought him to the room, and told him, there's bedding in there, everything's in there, there's lights right there. We had a big trailer. We put 2 trailers together and tore out the whole middle section, and it was like where we had our school. It was a Christian school, my wife ran. Showed him where to stay, in that room, and I told him down to the big trailer, we usually leave that door open. You can go in there. There's a kitchen in there, and you can lunch around in there. Whatever you need to, if you want to eat a snack or something, He said, all right, and went in his room, and I closed the door, and that was it. And I just went back to my trailer, or me and my wife, my kids,
Mm-hmm.
and where we stayed. Went over there and got ready and settled in for the night, going to sleep. And I spent about 3, 4 in the morning, that phone started ringing. And it was that mortician. And says, hello. And there's Mike. He said, hey, it's Mike. And he said, sorry to wake you up. And I asked him, what was wrong, anything the matter, what's wrong? He said, no. He said, I do need you to do a pickup in Great Falls as soon as possible if you can do it for me. And he showed me where the keys and everything were in that building down there by Willow Creek. It used to be a funeral home. Anyway, he showed me where the keys are and everything,
Mm-hmm.
For the hearse, and I had a key on me to unlock everything, the front door and everything already. And when I first got there, them lights turned on. Those supposed to be light sensors. They light up when somebody sends somebody going by.
Mm-hmm.
And so I opened the doors to that the garage in the back, and went in there and started that hearse. And got ready, and he just told me, he said, there's a card in there, a credit card that I use. Just pulled it out of that desk, and when they get gas and stuff. So I went headed to town pump, and when I pulled up at town pump, I was gassing them, and I was thinking, why that guy's fast? Because the day before, he was telling me he was going to put some motion detector lights up around that building.
Mm-hmm.
And but I found out later, that he didn't even install them yet. And the lights just came on themselves. And that's something that that I didn't realize until way after. Anyway, I headed to Great Falls. It was early, I was just going across that bridge from on 10th Avenue, and you're first getting into Great Falls.
Yeah.
I was just going across that bridge, and from Fox Farm Road, going up that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that water heater went off and broke on that hearse. something happened.
Jeez.
Something with the water heater or something. Anyway, I had to call Mike. Mike called Bison Ford in Great Falls, and they come and hauled us over there. And it took all day to fix that thing, you know.
Mhm.
And I think indeed, you know, I didn't want to go home, you know, late, and it was already, sun was setting and everything, and finally that guy came on, and he said, well, you're good to go. It was about 9 o'clock, 9 or 10 or something like that, when I finally got to the hospital to pick up that body.
Mhm.
Signed the paper, went in the room, and they're usually on a gurney, and all I did is put them in our gurney and zip it up, you know, but buckle them in like you would, you know, an ambulance, you know, them gurneys,
Yeah.
so they don't fall off and stuff, you know. And we got them all fastened in and zipped up that body bag, and that body bag's attached to that gurney, our gurney, and it just zips up, you know. So I got him in there and zipped it up and put him in that hearse and headed home. And it was about, you know, every hill that I came to out of Great Falls, the first hill is by Vaughn, you know.
Mhm.
Goes way down, and that gurney come loose, and it come hit the back of my seat, you know. And that kind of freaked me out at first. Yeah, pulled over, and I got it fastened back and buckled in and everything, and every, you know, so it don't roll around like that.
Good.
Yeah, so I headed home again, started up. I forgot what hill I come to next, but same thing, come loose, and every time I'd hit the brake or do something, I'd come rolling up and hit the back of the seat.
Mhm.
That was weird, you know. I mean, it felt funny every time I did it, my back would get sick.
Oh yeah.
So I'd stop, and then I'd refasten it and I'd put it back in its place and make sure it's secured in there, and drive on again, you know.
Mhm.
And all the way home, I'm not kidding, all the way home I did that. The last hill I did to is Spring Hill out here. Same thing. And I just knew it. Oh, it's going to happen again. And same thing. Except for that one when he came into town and down the road, you know. It never happened once after Spring Hill.
Mhm.
But and I was thinking, you know, that guy probably just raising hell with me. My passenger, you know. And when I got in town, it was been about, I don't know, about 12 o'clock night. When I got in, back to Browning, I pulled back into the funeral home down there.
Mhm.
And I backed in there, and I opened the garage door, and I backed in there, and I took slid the gurney out and put the legs down and wheeled the body and put it in the cooler and closed the doors up, made sure everything was secure, and then just then the phone rang, and it was Mike, and he said he was going to be on his way up, and he asked me if I could, you know, prep that body for him. And when I got done prepping him, and then I walked out, you know, and when I made coffee, I was going to go get me a cup. And at the kitchen, you have to go through the back where we do everything. Like if we have to embalm him, you know, he had to embalm this person. That's why when a body got there, you want to do it right away, because he was supposed to be there that day, you know, earlier that afternoon. But the hearse broke down, so that's why he was coming up late to embalm the body. After I got done prepping that body, I was thinking, I'm going to get some coffee, you know. Anyway, way in the back's where the kitchen was, and that's where the coffee was. And as soon as I walked out of there, I heard like knocking on that cooler door,
Mhm.
and it was just quiet. I mean, so quiet you can hear like a, that kind of noise is constant. And I stood there, and then they got cold. I mean, ice cold, real cold. And I've never experienced anything like that before in my life. I mean, fear with that kind of magnitude of fear. I mean, it was just like I just froze, when I heard that knock on that door. I mean, I knew nobody was there, but it was a knock. And like I stopped in my tracks, and I heard it again. And then I start, going towards that office. When I got to the office door, I heard it one last time. It was going like this. I mean, louder and harder, and then I heard that that door I just closed behind me. It was like that doorknob was twisted. And then when I opened that door to go out to them two doors that go outside, when I open that door, I can hear other doors slamming and opening, slamming and opening. And I mean, I was so afraid. It was just like I couldn't move at first. Then the second, I was like I was trying to get out of there, and then I don't know. It was just like I was gonna, I didn't know what to do. I ran for that door, and I opened the door, and when I opened that door, I ran right smack into that mortician, that Mike. he grabbed me. He said, "Oh, Angelo, what the hell, are you okay?" And I was trying to tell him, what was going on,
Yeah.
I was trying to tell him what happened, I mean, I was just shaking, literally, just shaking. I don't know what made me, I mean, the fear, the magnitude of that fear that I felt, it just shook me. I mean, even thinking about it today, it just makes me a little afraid a little bit, And that's another reason why I was kind of reluctant to tell this story, because, because of the feelings that I feel, what it reminds me of, I was trying to tell Mike, what was going on, and in fact, finally, it took a while, to calm down, but after a while, when I finally calmed down, I was trying to explain to him what was going on in there, in the building.
Yeah.
I started telling him, I heard knocking, and the doors were opening and closing, and the doorknobs were twisting and turning, and I told him, I said, it seemed like it took me forever to get out. I couldn't get out. It seemed like I was moving in slow motion and in fast forward at the same time. I couldn't explain it, to him, I was trying to. And I was sitting there, and I was shaking, I was drinking a cup of coffee, I was trying to smoke a cigarette, and I was shaking, and he said, "You need me to call Leanna?" I said, "No, I'll go home." And I said, "My car's here, I'll make it, just give me a minute, And he said, "How are you feeling? You said you were sick." I said, "Oh, doctors gave me antibiotics," and I said, told him, I said, "I haven't gotten much rest. I haven't slept very well." And then he said, "Well, maybe that's it. Maybe you're just overtired, and you're sick. You haven't taken antibiotics." I said, "No, I haven't, not yet. Not since." I said, "I've been gone since about 4:00 this morning." We just chalked it up to me being sick and not enough rest, like I said, And so I finally calmed down, and I drove home, and I got home, and I told Leanne what happened, and we prayed for a while, and then I thought about my buddy, in that room, Jason. So I went over there and checked on him, and asked him if how he was doing, and if he needed to go home or something, and he just shook his head no. He said he was all right, and I told him, I said, "Well, I'm gonna head back over to the house and try and sleep, Oh man, that night too I couldn't sleep either. I took my medicine and everything, and I still couldn't sleep. I was scared, and I told Leanne what happened, and We did. We prayed for a while, you know.
Yeah.
Seemed like about 4:30 again that next day when I was sleeping. I in the morning when I finally dozed off to sleep, it seemed like I just closed my eyes and it was daylight again. And Leanne, they were already all up and gone at school over to that building, and I was laying there and I was thinking, geez, you know, wasn't much of a rest. I took my antibiotics again, and I think Mike called her again or something. Yeah, asked me if I could come in. I said, well, yeah, I'll probably be there by 8:30. I told him. So I got up and then I went over and checked on Jason again. You know, went over to the room he was. I said, the only answer, you haven't ate since you've been here. You better grab something to eat. He said, yeah, I will. He said, it's not hungry right now. He said, I had some snacks in my duffel bag. He said, I said, all right. I told him, I'm heading to town here. I got to go to work at 8:30. You need a ride home? Your woman's probably worried about you or something. He said, oh, man, brother, can I just stay here for a couple more days? I just got to clear things out of my head and get my head straight. And I told him, I said, well, you're going to have to go home, play some music sometime.
Yeah.
I said, what happened? Did you get caught cheating or something? You know, just teasing him. He said, yeah, no, nothing like that. And I said, no, I'm just kidding, brother. So I'll see you after work. So it was about 8:30 in the morning when I headed back over to that funeral home. Anyway, when I got there, I had a key and I opened it up and walked in here, and Mike, he was sleeping on that couch that he had in his office. First thing I thought was, holy crap, how can you sleep here alone like that, you know? He got up, I got by 8:30, and he was said good morning and asked him how he slept. I said, did you have a good rest, you know, and couldn't anything around you, and anything weird happened here after I left? He said, no. I said, nothing happened. Quiet. He said he did what he had to do. He embalmed the body, got it dressed and everything. And he said he had to come back and meet the family that afternoon, I think. And he asked me if I could, you know, stick around there that day, you know, hold the fort down. And I think he said he would be back about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, that he had to meet with the family. But I told him, yeah, all right, I'll clean up and straighten up and everything. He headed out, and like I said, that kitchen's way in the back, you know. So I went back there to get some more coffee, you know, and I locked that door, and I thought I heard somebody, you know, in the front there, hollering out, anybody home? And then I hollered back. I said, I'll be right with you. Hang on, please. And I came towards the front, and I started thinking, hey, didn't I lock them doors? Or maybe I never, or maybe I thought I did. And when I got to the front door, sure enough, they were locked. There was nobody there, you know. I mean, how could they open the door and holler, you know, if anybody's home? And I was just standing there, like, looking at them doors, you know, because they were locked. And I was looking towards the office, you know, thinking somebody maybe went back there. Bathroom doors were open right there, and then right behind me in that, where you have the lakes, that viewing room,
Yeah.
there was like a laugh. I mean, just a real high-pitched laugh. It kind of remind me of an old lady laugh, but with like a real high-toned voice.
Yeah.
And that was right behind me in that room, and that whole room was empty. You know, it had the chairs all stacked up, and you know, because it's vacuum and cleaning and stuff like that, you know. And I turned around. When I turned around, I couldn't move. I just, you know, stood there. I felt like throwing up. Felt lightheaded. Thought I was gonna faint. Thought I was gonna fall over, you know. And I was just standing there, you know. almost getting sick and getting scared, and the next thing I heard in that back room, and so like he had a tool thing with a bunch of drawers in it. Those I don't know what they're called, but it's a tray full of tools.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounded like somebody took them and tipped that whole thing over. And you can hear tools falling all over in that garage. I mean, where we cleaning just them bodies. I mean,
Yeah.
but when I heard that, I didn't go find out what fell over or what happened. I took off out to my car. Jumped on my phone. I jumped on my phone and called my brother. I told him, I asked him if he'd come down to that funeral home and watch the front door while I cleaned up everything, because I thought I would have to clean up back there, and I didn't want to go in the back with nobody there with me, There's a body in there, and what happened the night before, I was scared. I didn't want to be there alone. So he came down and was teasing me, you getting spooked? I said, no, I just need somebody to watch the front door while I, clean up and stuff, And when I was doing that, I was in that coffee room, dusting all them coffins off and wiping them down and cleaning them off and opening them up, and like for somebody that someone who was viewing a body, that Mike said you do that when they come and pick out a coffin. For the deceased, so I had to do that anyway, and I kind of really did need somebody to watch the front door. But he came down, my brother. He came down, and he was sitting in the front door, and I was in there cleaning them coffins up and dusting them down and everything. And I went back and do it where I expected a bunch of tools and stuff to be all over. There's nothing tipped over. That whole room back there was just the way we left it.
Oh.
I looked in that garage, expecting tools to be all over there. Nothing. I couldn't find nothing on the floor. And we cleaned that whole area, swept and mopped, every day and stuff. He was asking me after I got done cleaning up, he asked me, looking really serious look. He said, do you ever hear strange things around here? Do you ever hear things or see things? You spooked? No, I don't know. I'm just doing what I have to do. And I told him, nothing bothers me here. Lying to him, Yeah, I was still thinking, just lack of sleep and being sick and the medication, everything I was doing. I was seeing things and hearing things, And that was my explanation to me anyway, to myself, He told me, he said, well, I'm going to head out, brother. I hated for him to go, I want him to stay longer, I offered him another cup of coffee. And he said, well, yeah, I'll have one more cup. And he said he had to get going. I told him, hey, let's play some crib, $5 a game, come on. We'll play $2, winner takes all, $15. He said, all right. So we sat down, play some crib. And I was trying to keep him there, until Mike got there. or until at least school got out and I could call Leanne, come and sit with me or something. Anyway, we said, come on, best out of 3, and it's $15 a piece, winner takes all. And we started to shuffle them cards, and I told him, I'll go get some more coffee. So I grabbed his cup and I went back in the kitchen, and get us another cup of coffee. And I come back in, and he was sitting there. He didn't even deal the cards. He was just holding them cards. He's sitting there. And he said, is your boss here? Is Mike here? I said, no. I looked out the door. I didn't see his car or anything, no. And he said, I thought I heard someone in that back room. So my brother told me, And I told him, no, nobody here. I said, it's just our guest, and he's not going to be here long, They're going to have him in the house. They're not going to have him in one of these centers, And said, no, he said, I swear, Angelo, he said, I swear I heard somebody call you and then cough.
Hmm.
And he's looking at me, and I could just, see this fear on him, And I told him, I said, I don't know, maybe he did. I'll go check, That's what I told my brother, and so I went out and I went in that back room that goes into that freezer and that hallway to the garage door and the other one where the body was, in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was walking through there, I thought I seen them lights going off and on in that display room.
Mm-hmm.
At the corner of my eye, when I was walking by. And then when I went to go check in that coffin room, there was nobody back there. But when I went to go check in that coffin room, all them coffins that I opened and brushed, dusted and opened all up, they were all closed. Every one of them.
Weird.
And there was like about close to maybe 25 or 20 coffins in there.
Mm-hmm.
That display room where the family picks a coffin out.
Yeah.
And I dusted them all off. I cleaned them all. Some of them needed to be washed, and so I washed them and sprayed them. And I was when my brother was sitting out front, at the door when I did all this, and they were all closed. I left them all open, and they were all closed. And then I ran in there and I started opening them all up again. And I just got like halfway done opening them up, and I was just coming to the last ones, and I was walking back out that door, and I heard my brother. He was telling me that he was hollering at me. He's saying, "I gotta go." I said, "Hang on, what?" And I got up there. He was already gone. It was just quiet again. When he left, it was just like that fear that the night before.
Yeah.
That I felt this fear that was just like it was so intense. It was just like made you not know what to do. It made me feel like a kid. I'm not kidding.
Hmm.
I haven't had fear like that in all my life.
Yeah.
And it was almost to the point of me even passing out. That's how hard and forceful this fear that I felt was. I looked in that room, and I noticed a couple of them coffins were closed, and I forced myself to go in there and open them again. Those ones that were closed, and I began to feel a little bit better after I felt brave enough to go in there and do that. I went up to the car and I called me on. I was I called her. I said, "Can you get my sage?" And I was telling her they're up in a room in that upper shelf. And I asked her to bring it into me to that funeral home. But she's asking me what's wrong. She's asking me if I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Saying if I was asking if there was anything going on again, or if I was hearing things, or if I was getting spooked. She's asking me where Mike was. All these questions, like kind of like almost all at once. She was telling me he should be there. Anyhow, after we were talking, and I just told her, "Can you just get him here? As soon as you can. I really need him bad. I kind of need him right now, right away."
Yeah.
And said, "Okay, I'll be there in a few minutes." It didn't take her long. But I was standing in that doorway, waiting for her to come. She would be coming from the north, I was standing there. I seen her driving down and go through over that little bridge there, and she pulled in and went down there to get that my stuff from her. She gave me my handed me my sage and everything I asked for. And she said, "I'll give you 10 minutes before I go in there, to go in there and pray and smudge it out." I asked her, if she would come in and stay with me until Mike got there. Yeah, that's when we began to talk, and that's when I began to tell her everything that happened from the night before when Mike called 4 in the morning when I went to get the body, When it was much and everything seemed to, kind of settle down a lot,
Mm-hmm.
After I smudged and prayed a bit in there, and I told Jan to stay with me until Mike gets here. I honestly thought, Rodney, I honestly thought that I was going crazy. I thought I was losing my mind, after what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, hearing somebody laugh in there when there's nobody there, and hearing somebody calling out, "Is anybody here? Anybody home?" And when I got there and you made coffee, that I think it was the morning before or whatever,
Yeah.
hearing all of that, and there's nobody there, and it's real. I heard it. I mean, it was so real to me. It was like me talking to you and you hearing my voice, or me hearing your voice. That's what I heard it, and there's no denying in my head that I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
And in the end, I told her David was here, and she asked me how come he left her. I told her I don't know. I said he was kind of upset. And he took off, and we talk about this every once in a while, but David he won't tell me what he heard or what happened there, why he left. To this day, he won't tell me what happened.
Hmm.
He don't even talk about it, my brother. But anyway, must have been about 4:00, or almost like 4:30 or something like that. The family came, after we prayed and we settled down. That family came and they were waiting for Mike to get there. I seen Mike and he said, "Oh, you look terrible, man. You're still sick." I said, "Yeah, yeah, not quite feeling up to par." I told him I took my pain, my meds and everything, medication, my antibiotics. I said it should probably clear up in a couple of days, Yeah. When he turned his family, he said, "Has the family been here long?" And I told him no. He got here maybe 15, 20 minutes ago. I made him. That's their first cup of coffee. I told him. And he said, "Thanks, stick around today, but they needed you." He said, "You should go home. Let me take care of you now." I said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Go home and rest up." No, well, I headed home, and I don't know where Leanne headed, but I was heading out, and Mike was by that door. He was hollering at me, and I stopped. He just told me, he said, "Just take tomorrow off and get healed up." He said, "Yeah, he's going to need me for a funeral,
Mm-hmm.
I told him, "Yeah, well, I'll take tomorrow off and whenever the funeral or whatever, when I'll feel better, I'll come back." He said, "Well, I'll need you for the funeral." And Leanne hit up before I did. I know that, but I made it home and I pulled into that place where we had out there. My daughter Olivia, she was home. She was watching our other kids, Ruben and Angelo. They were just little babies then, and she told me, "Hi, Dad, did you have a good day?" I said, "Well, it was all right, my girl." Gave her a hug, and my other two were too busy to even carry playing around to carry us home,
Hmm.
Then I headed back to my trailer, and she said, "I thought Mom was with you." I said, "Well, she left before me. She said she was low on gas. She might have stopped at the C-store. I didn't know, to get gas or something." And she said, "Dad, I think there's somebody in that sixth store, that one we had up there, and where Jason was staying."
Yeah.
She said, "Them dogs are going crazy over there earlier." And so I told my girl that there's a friend camping there for a couple of days, and I forgot about him, so I went up to check on him. So I went back to my trailer. And I was knocking on his door, and there's no answer. And I knocked on it for a while. No answer, you know. And finally I start calling him. I say, Jason, you know, and getting louder and louder. And one day I thought, well, maybe he headed out, must have went home or something, you know. And then next thing, he just cracked that door a little bit, and he's really glaring from the light and asked me what's up. And I just told him, oh, hey, I thought you headed out, or she come to check on you, see how you're doing. I'm worried about you, buddy. He said he was okay. He said he had to get his head on straight before he tried to go home, you know. And he said, do you think I could stay another night or so, you know? And he said, I'll be out of here in the morning. I told him, yeah, I don't care. Jason, you know, if you need to talk, man, I'm here, you know. We've known each other most of our lives, man. Being concerned about him, genuinely concerned about him, you know. And he just told me, you know, no, it's just something that he had to work out on his own. If he needed somebody to talk to, you know, I told him, you know, I'm here. I said, geez, I've known you almost all my life, you know. Then, you know, like I said, he told me that that's just something that he needed to work out himself. And I told him, well, all right, well, come up to the big trailer, and Man's making some soup and some fry bread up. And he said, okay. And that's, you know, that was it. I was headed back to my trailer, and as I was going back to my trailer, Leanne was pulling up. And she had some groceries, so I helped her unload that food in that big trailer, and then I went to my trailer again just to jump in the shower and lay down and rest for a while. Took some more of my meds and jumped back in the shower, you know. And just thinking about everything, you know, everything that was going on. I mean, it was too crazy for me. I mean, it was, what was happening was too. I mean, the fear that I felt was too concerning for me just to not think about, you know, and just drop it and let it go. I just constantly thinking about it. What happened at that funeral home?
Yeah.
And I was really wondering if it was, you know, those antibiotics, and it really felt like maybe, you know, geez, maybe I'm just going crazy. I was thinking, you know. So I went in the bathroom and took a shower, and I was putting shampoo in my hair, and you know, I closed your eyes, and then all of a sudden the air was just cold in that bathroom. I mean, it's like if you're already wet, then you go outside in the winter, and how cold it is. It's ice cold. And then when that happened, you know, I thought, holy Christ, you know, whatever was happening at that moment, I was thinking it followed me home, you know, and hey, I got scared, and at the same time I started getting upset, getting angry, you know, because this is my kids, my wife, you know, and my family here, you know, it's where we all feel safe in our house, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I opened my eyes a little bit, and when I opened my eyes, I could see somebody standing there, you know, through them shower curtain, and I couldn't move. And I just letting that water, I mean that shower, wash that soap from my face. And I start getting mad, and I start screaming, you know, get out of my house, get out of here, you're not welcome here, you know. Yeah, I just felt brave, you know, because all of a sudden it didn't feel cold in there anymore, you know. That shower was nice and warm, and I felt brave, and so I showered and put some clothes on, and I told them, yeah, why don't you guys come in to pray with me, you know, you and the kids. Then I couldn't find my smudge and stuff, and I think I left them at that funeral home. And I said, why don't you and the kids get ready and come with me, and we'll go get them.
Yeah.
And she's telling me, just go yourself. I don't want to take the kids over there. She's telling me, you know. I told her, I said, yeah, I don't want to scare you, but we need those things tonight. And she's she said she seen, you know, fear. She said, you never seen me with that kind of fear on my face before, you know. She said, since I ever known you, she said, I've never seen you look like that, Angelo, the way you looked that day. So she agreed to, you know, come with me and take the kids with us. So we all jumped into the van and headed to town. And, you know, just a few minutes, we're at that funeral home. And we're sitting in front of there. And, the day before, I forgot to tell you, the day before when she brought my smudge there,
Yeah.
she asked me, who's there with you? I told her, nobody, I think. And she said, there was somebody standing behind you when she brought that sage to me.
Oh.
We went to get that sage. We're at that funeral home and was kind of sitting in front of there, you know. I kind of didn't want to go in there by myself, you know. But when we pulled up there in the front, them lights turned on by themselves. And I still don't know if Mike put them motion detector lights up, you know. If he didn't put them up yet, but the lights come on by themselves. And that, even when I got up there to walk up there to that door, I had my key out and everything. When before I could even put the key in that door just kind of opened. And you know, I kind of stood there and looking at that door and that, you know, trying to make myself go in there, but I couldn't, you know. But when I went in there, that door closed. I mean, it just sounded loud when it closed, like it slammed shut. And as soon as that happened, I heard that same laugh that I heard that morning when I heard somebody calling out if anybody was here, you know. And that same laugh, I heard it again. That same, and it was coming from that same room as before, that same wake room. When I heard that laugh, I couldn't move. It was the same thing, that fear. It just paralyzed me. I couldn't move. I just stood there in my breathing, you know. It was like I couldn't breathe. Like I could only take little short breaths at a time, you know. And I don't know how long I stood there. Rodney, I don't know how long I stood in that doorway, and all of a sudden the aunt, I come out of a daze, the aunt grabbed me, and she began pulling me out that door. And I don't know, I didn't see her come in, I didn't hear her come in, I didn't hear that door open or close, but she had that sage with her when she came out. Then we took off to my house, you know. So we got home. As soon as we got home, somebody was knocking on our door, and I answered it, and it was my partner, Jason, you know. He said, can I come in? I said, come in, Jason, what's up? And we had already lit the sage, and, you know, we're praying, and he said, oh, I thought I smelled sage and wanted to smudge with you. Smudge with you guys, you know.
Yeah.
And told him, yeah, well, come in, and, you know, we're all smudging and praying, and, you know, I told him, you know, I'm more than welcome to come in and pray with us, you know. We got done praying, and we're just sitting around, and I asked him, I said, well, how's it going over there? And he said, I'm not getting much sleep in that trailer, he said. Then he got up, and then he just said good night to everybody, you know. Yeah, we didn't get much sleep either, you know, I was telling him. You know, Jason was walking out, and so I was walking back with him to his room, offered him a cigarette, you know, and I've never known him to turn down the cigarettes, you know. I mean, he smoked and everything, and you know, he wasn't smoking, wasn't eating, you know, and he said no thanks. And at the same time, I was watching him, he was kind of looking up at the stars, you know, and I lit up a cigarette, and you know, I was half tempted to tell him, you know, what was going on with me, you know. I wanted to tell him, you know, what was happening and what I've been going through, you know, last couple of days, you know. And before I could say anything about, you know, what was the haunting or the paranormal experience or what I was going through, you know, before I could say anything, he began to talk to me, and there's like a real low voice, like somebody else was being, like he didn't want anybody else to hear, like
Yeah.
like somebody was by that we couldn't see was listening. And anyway, he looked at me and he said, brother, he said, Angelo, he said, I can't come to grips with something that I did. He said, I mean, something that happened to him, something that happened to me. And he said, when he picked me up out on the agency, he said he's worried about his folks. He said he's worried about his wife, Kim.
Yeah.
Oh, his wife, yeah. He's Kim was his little girl, but he was worried about his wife and his daughter Kim, his wife's Annette. And he just started, to pour out his heart to me.
Yeah.
He was talking about his work. He was talking about his relationship with his wife, and like she wanted everything, and he was pouring out his heart to me. I sat there and took out another cigarette and smoked another cigarette, and his voice just kind of drifted off. And I was thinking about the things that were going on in my life. What was just happening in the last 2 days, and that all this scary crap I was going through, And as I was thinking about that, it was like his voice just kind of like drifted off. I was trying to make sense of everything, and I don't know how long I was standing there, and I couldn't get that laugh out of my mind, and how I'd get paralyzed with fear, and how cold it would get before this thing would come around, like it was like a warning to its presence coming. And then just about then, my daughter, I don't remember she grabbed me or shook me or saw me in that store. I said, I think I almost swallowed my cigarette, and my daughter, when she come and shook my arm or something, she said, Dad, mom's been calling you. And so I told Jason, and I think I told him I'm gonna head back to the room and see what was going on, see what Meandy. And he said, oh, hey, thanks for listening. I really needed to unload that. And I really wished I could have listened, to what he said. So he was telling me something that was really important, but I didn't listen. I was thinking about what was going on. And because, oh, geez. I just wish I could have heard what he said, He told me, he said, thanks for listening. I really needed to unload that. Then he just went into his room. I told him, no problem. Friends for, and I told him, ask me, for help. He's in control of everything,
Yeah.
And I saw him just rest up, see you tomorrow, Told him good night. He told Olivia good night. And closed the door. Olivia called him night night. We were walking away, and she looked at me because she knew Jason, my little girl. She knew him too. And she even told me, she said, "Dad, I think something's wrong with Jason." So what do you mean? He don't seem like the Jason I know. And kind of realized she was right, to this day, and I told me he's been really quiet, since I picked him up on the road. She asked me, what was I doing out there? And I told her, I said, Grandma wanted to see me. She's having one of her warnings. And I told her, girl, I said, I think she might be right this time. And I gave her a kiss on the forehead, my mom told her, give my babies a kiss, before I left the house. I told her, I seen your grandma. She grabbed my hand and was walking back to the trailer. We just walking back. I told her, what's so important? And she just told me to put her finger up, just to her mouth there. Just and she told the kids, put on your Barney show and you can watch Barney before you go to bed. And she told me, she said, I don't want us to see this. Went back in the room, And she turned them lights off and she pulled back them curtains and then she did it. I looked out the window and from our window you can see into the big trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what am I looking at? You gotta give me a hint? What is it? Yeah. And she said, just watch. I mean, when she said it, she said it like an order. Watch! Like that.
Really?
And she told me that when she seen it, she was just, she couldn't move. She couldn't speak when she seen what she's telling me to look at, And she said she just realized, she said she's seen that I seen what she's seen because of the change that came on my face and she didn't want to look at it herself again. And me, I just stood there in fear looking in that room. And to this day, I don't know how to describe what I saw, And what I seen in there was just like shadowy forms. No features, just dark figures in that big room where we had school in the kitchen where that was, From our bedroom, we could see right into that room, into that big trailer.
Jeez.
And I could only, they were like more solid than a shadow, like a shadow, it's a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But these were like they had their own, I don't know how to say it, but their existence. They were there. I could see them walking around in there, moving around in that big trailer. Where our trailer was, our back room, it was a petition, and the way that petition moved out, we're able to see into that big trailer by that thing. If that petition wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to see it because the other trailer would be blocking it. I was still looking in there, and the things were moving around, and next thing there was like bang, like it was like outside of that petition. And at the same time, it was like hitting on the inside, like 3 big loud bangs like that. And it just felt like tingling all over. And at the same time, it was like I was going numb, I could hear the dogs barking and they were whimpering. And they were under our porch, our back porch, and the front porch. We had quite a few dogs, And then she started looking out the back door. There's nothing, nobody. When she opened that door, it was just quiet. Even the dogs, even they were quiet. That night, it seemed like that was the scariest night that we had. I think it was that third night. Next thing our little ones they come running in that room. They were screaming, they were crying, jumping up and down. They were just pointing towards the living room. And they were when they come running back to our room, they were just pointing down the hallway towards the living room, and Leanne grabbed him and grabbed a baby, and just then Olivia come in. She came into our room. She wasn't watching Barney or she didn't want to. She just wanted to go to her room. And she come running in the room. She said, Mom, Dad, what the hell are you guys doing? You guys fighting? And just thought we was fighting. I reached up and I jumped up, closing the curtains. I didn't want them to look in there, but before I could close them, that lady, she seen who was in there. She screamed just loud. I mean, just to, it was, how little kids scream is real high pitched.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it was. It was just a long scream, and she was pointing out the window, and when she done screaming, all she was saying, Daddy, 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 pointing out the window, And I jumped up, and when I looked at it, I didn't see anything, nothing in there. And I grabbed all the kids, and all of them in the room, and they're all screaming and crying at the same time, and they're trying to calm the kids down, And I was thinking about that slug, what's that slug? And my little boy, Ruben, he said, Daddy, somebody's trying to take our sister outside. They were in the living room, him and his little sister. Hey, what do you mean? What do you mean somebody's trying to take, somebody's trying to take sister outside? And then I noticed our big dog. We had a big Rottweiler. We named her Sadie, I think it was. Yeah, we had Sadie, another one, Jake. Two Rottweilers. Anyway, Sadie was inside, so that door had to be open, because she was inside with the kids. And I don't know how she got in there, but yeah, I felt good she was in there. And I told my boy, I said, "What do you mean, someone? What do you mean?" I said, "My boy, is it Jason?" And he said, "He didn't look like Jason." And he was holding his sister. Leon was holding his sister in the person. And Leon was telling me, "You need this one, Angelo." And I could sense, fear, and I could see in their eyes. And then I tell you, I've never felt helpless. I mean, that helpless in all my life. I've never felt helpless like that before. I mean, what can I do against, this? And my boy said that whoever was trying to grab my little girl, and she was just learning how to walk and stuff. I think at that time. I even said that Sadie, my dog, chased him away. I was getting upset, somebody come in the house. So I went back to my room and I grabbed my handgun and my flashlight. I told him, "You guys stay in the room, lock the door." And I pushed that dresser against that back door, close it, and we keep it shut. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go get Jason and go over that big trailer." I said, "Lock the door behind me. Don't let anybody in, even me." I said, "What do you mean, even me? Even you?" I said, "Well, I got the key, so if I need to go in there, I'll just open it. Don't lock, If if you hear me hollering at you to open the door, don't open it, 'cause I won't holler. I'll just open it. I got the key." Just showing her the key. I start walking over towards that sixth door to get with Jason, and when I come around that corner, I see him. He had a big old stick, in his hands. And he said he seen someone looking in their kitchen window. He said, and he told me, he said, "But when he got close to them, they were gone, disappeared. It was vanished," he said. And I was talking really loud, real loud voices. "Well, I'm telling you, try to take my baby, try to take Angelo. And that someone's going to get a bullet in his ass, Things are frightening." And I was talking really loud because, I thought somebody actually did come in because my son said somebody tried to take Angelo. I said, "Was it Jason?" And he said, "No, it didn't look like it." I told Jason that I was going to go to that big trailer. And I think I told him to watch the house, I think. So I walked towards that big trailer, and when I got towards that door, I could hear voices, like it was a big crowd of people all whispering and talking all at once. Mumbled. I couldn't hear what they were saying. I got there and I don't remember if I had the key or not. Yeah, I put the key in there, and then I opened it, and then as soon as I opened it, and I pushed it open, I thought I'd see a bunch of people in there, and when I pushed it open, it was just quiet, dark, couldn't hear nothing, even that mumbling, all the mumbling, jumbled voices that I heard, even that was gone. All you can hear is that refrigerator, how the refrigerator sound.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I was afraid to go in there, and so I stepped in there and I walked in the trailer. And when I got halfway in there, and I left that door open next to me and slammed. I'm not getting slammed up behind me, and then I started getting scared all over again. That same fear didn't overtake me again. And it felt like that hallway was dark. It felt like there was somebody watching me for everywhere. Like the eyes all around me or something. It felt like, it felt evil.
Yeah.
It's so evil. The fear that it cast on you was just overwhelming. Made you paralyzed, like in every sense, in every way. You just fear. That's the way it made me feel. Then when I looked, I could, from where I was standing, I could see right and straight in our bedroom from that big trailer to our trailer. And when I looked in there, I seen this thing in there, and it was just like what what came to mind and what really made it real to me was that movie I seen. It was a Batman movie where a guy had a gunny sack over his head. That's what it looked like. It had no eyes, just like holes where eyes were supposed to be.
Mm.
But that's what it reminded me of. And that's when it was the ugly thing that I seen. Then I couldn't even move again. I was just like, that fear that took grip of me. And I couldn't move. I was standing there in that thing. It was like it was smiling. And I couldn't holler at my wife. It was in our room. Me and Angelo, like from where I was standing in that big trailer, I can see into our petition that was built onto for our bedroom. I could see into here where a window was, and I could see that thing in there. I don't know where Jason was. And I was trying to scream and holler, and I couldn't even warn my kids at that. Whatever that thing was in there, and I go with them. Jeez, I was sweating and couldn't say again. I felt like throwing up. It was like under some kind of a spell or something. It was just like I just couldn't like break whatever it was that was on me. I just couldn't do it. And then that darn thing, it kind of smiled and turned to go around to that out of my room, then down to the living room. And then I couldn't move. I was shaking. My whole body was shaking. I couldn't even move. I was trying to order myself to move. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't talk or nothing. And then all of a sudden, I was a bang. And what it did, I was standing there, and I just missed my feet a few inches. I fired that pistol, and that's what broke that thing on me. And I busted out in a run. I went running over to a house after that happened. After that, it was just like I seen that flash too when I pulled that trigger, and that was the only thing I could move was like my hand. And that pistol was in my hand, and boom. That's when I come out of it, I took off over to the trailer, and I pounded on the door, screaming at Leanne to open it up, and Leanne and opened me there because I told him not to open me there, but I was screaming and knocking on the door. But I forgot about it. I was hollering and trying to open that door, and they were inside there, both of them keeping me out and coming in. And anyway, finally I said, honey, babe, it's me. Get away from the door. I have the key. And then when I said that door, she just opened the door and she knew it was me, by then. And she opened it up and they're all crying inside there. Ruben was crying, and I ran past Ruben and I was looking for Andrew. And Leanne was screaming, where's my baby? Looking for Angelo. Was looking for her, and then all of a sudden Jason, he came down the hallway. He was carrying our baby in that room where he shared with Olivia. Leanne went over there to grab our baby and asked me, you okay? You okay? And she says, no, baby, she wouldn't let go of Jason. She wouldn't let him go. She said, I want him. Leanne was trying to take her away from me, and she's calling, please, baby, mommy's here, mommy's got you, mommy's here. And she just wouldn't let go of Jason. She just held on to him. And we're all sitting there, trying to pull ourselves together. We was all sitting around, and Leanne was sitting on a chair. She was holding Angie's hand, and she was still sitting on Jason's lap. She just wouldn't let him go. And, like, standing there, and I think I went to go lock the door again. And I was telling him, did you guys see it? Did you guys see that? Did you see that? And then next thing, our dogs start howling outside, and they're right by our front door. They're howling, and Sadie, our Rottweiler, she was sitting there. She was just like had a snare on her mouth, showing her teeth, and she was just looking straight at Jason. I told Jason, how'd you get in here? He didn't answer. I said, how'd you get in here, Jason? And I started looking at that pistol, and he said, I seen someone by your back door. He said, I tried to get in, but it was locked. He said, so I crawled in through the window to get in. because I seen somebody in your back room. So when he was telling me that, I was looking for my smudge and I was telling everybody, asking them if they're okay, and Leanne said, "What you mean, you gonna smudge again?" She said, "Well, I don't think that's gonna work." She said, "I don't think it's gonna work, honey." It was like that, and she said, "How many times have we tried this before, and this thing's still bothering us?" And she said, "We need to pray for the Lord." And Leanne, she was right her out. Arthur Wells was evangelist, a preacher,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that faith. Leanne grew up in the Christian faith, Well, she started praying. I was scared. I mean, this thing was gonna make me mess myself or throw up or do something to me. That's how scared I was. I lit up that smudge anyway. I thought Leanne would have me pray, but she started to pray. It's the way Christians pray. Demanding Satan to get away and this and that stuff. Anyway, she was praying, and as she was praying, that water tap in the bathroom turned on by itself. Yeah, our dog had turned around halfway back there, just barking and snapping like something was there, like she's trying to bite something. Even the lights turned off, on. When Leanne was praying. But then she prayed louder and louder and louder. We're beginning to hear this laugh. It's just like a low laugh. It's like that's gonna help or something, But the way she was laughing, like it was mocking the way she was praying or something. But she just continued praying and rebuking that thing that was laughing, and she was commanded to go back to hell and back where it came from. And I told Jason, we need to do something, as Leanne was praying that. I told him, what the heck do you do in a spirit like this, or whatever this thing is, this ghost or demon, whatever it is? How do we deal with something like this, He was just, speechless. He didn't really say much, And here I was standing there, about ready to pass out, and, I was supposed to be brave, the strong one, and the family, and this thing it just reduced me to just being a child again myself. Even thinking like a child, I told me, "Go Cubs!" And you serious? I think we're crazy. They're not gonna believe us. Oh, I think Jason said that. Or one of them said that. And, yeah, I think Jason said, I think you're still praying, and just sat there, looked up at me, what are we gonna do? And I think about that time, the phone rang. Is when the phone rang, we all jumped, got scared. I grabbed the phone to answer it, and then put it to my ear, and it was my mom. She was calling from down the heartbeat. I couldn't hear her. I didn't hear her talking. They get cut off, and I was saying, "Mom, I can't hear you." I said, "Mom, got bad connection." And hello, and I put it to my ear, and there was nothing. I mean, bunch of static. And then it get the, I don't know how these bad connections. They make a bunch of noise, and then they just went dead, And I looked at my wife, and she looked at me first. She said, "Don't tell me the phone's dead. Call her back." She's my honey. She said, call your mom back." And so I hung it up and picked it back up in low dial tone. I tried it again, I didn't try about 3 or 4 times. It's not even a dial tone. I told her, I said, we can use that cell phone in the car. So I was digging for my keys and for the door and everything. I told her, my honey, I said, "Here's very cool with me, babe." Jason had our baby. She still wouldn't let go of him, And he had Angelo, and Ruben was walking with his sister Olivia and then Leanne, and I was behind Leanne. We're all walking to the car. And even our dogs, they formed a circle around us. They were following us, and Sadie, she was laying back. Used to be a real good watchdog. That dog. I think Sadie was Olivia's dog. Yeah, I think that. But she's like family dog. Watched over everybody. That dog. So we all headed to my car. Yeah, we once we got in the car, we began to talk. What should we do? Should we just go to town and spend the night, in town? And Leanne said, yeah. And she said, what about clothes? And Olivia, real quiet. She's quiet up to that point. She said, I don't want to go back in there, Mom. I'm not going back in there. And in that big trailer, was a washer and dryer. And Leanne said, I have clean clothes on top of that laundry basket on the top of the dryer in there. I told her, so I'll go get them. Then she told me, just grab the whole basket. I didn't have to sort through and get clothes. She said, just grab the whole basket. I gave her my pistol to hang on to, and I got out and I was walking over there, and I told Jason, can you go over there with him, help him or whatever? But she just said, would you please go with him? And he just got out of the car and come with me. That's when she said, just grab the whole basket. And so we walked up to that trailer, and I was telling Jason what I seen when I went over there the first time by myself.
Yeah.
I said I heard a bunch of people in that door even closed behind me. I think I told him when I was in there, and he just told me, he just said, "Wait here, I'll go get them clothes." And so I turned the light on in that big trailer, and you could still feel that presence that was in there that I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And he just walked into that laundry room and came out with them clothes, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
And I turned the lights back off, and we were walking back to the car, and Jason was looking at me funny, and I asked him, I said, and he just didn't, in the darkness of the night, and the our street lamp that was out there, and the lights that did eliminate it, light it up a little, he just looked funny, like odd, like something was out of place with him. I had them clothes, and I was putting them in the back of the van. I think we were in a van or a car, I don't remember. Anyway, I was putting them in the back, and I was holding the door open for him, and he just stayed standing there. He wouldn't get in. I said, "Cool, let's go." And he told me, he said, he said, "Angelo, I can't go with you guys." I told him, "What?" I said, "What? I can't leave you here,
Mm-hmm.
And you just stood there. I told him, "I can't leave you here. Look what's going on. Everything that's going on. Look what's happening. What if that, whatever it is, what if it comes back? What if or it comes back more intense or something, or something like." I can't remember what I told him, but I told him I couldn't leave him there. And I told him, I said, "What's going on with you? What's the matter with you?" He said, "What's bothering you?" And he wouldn't listen to me, to what I was saying. He didn't want to come with us. And I don't know if Leanne and the kids heard us talking when we were standing out by the car. And I told him, "Man, you're going to have to live with me, Jason. You're going to have to, tell me what's going on, what's bothering you." And he just told me that, he just couldn't, he couldn't explain to me. He was telling me that I wouldn't understand, and then he said, I'll be okay. And he was trying to convince me he'd be out there by himself that night. He even said, I'll lock myself in a room with your dog or something like that. I don't remember. Until you guys come back in the morning. But all right. Why I agreed, is because my dog, Sadie, that Rottweiler, she was, standing there licking his hand. And then I said, I told him you could sleep with Sadie in your room with you. She's a real good watchdog. So he was walking back to the room. I got in the car, and Leanne was getting upset at me. So I, wondering why I left him. And I told her, I said, he wouldn't come with us. I couldn't make him come with you, A grown man, I can't force him in there in a car and make him come with us. even when we're driving down the road, before you get to that end of the boarding school road, I was even slowing down there, thinking, oh, dang it, I should just, F it, I'll just go back and get it and make him come with us. I think before she could say anything, the kids started screaming, no, let's go to town, bring us to town, please, They were scared. We were all scared, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
We headed to town. We checked into the water bonnet and paid for our rooms. And I don't remember if we called my mom. I think we called her in the room. Yeah, because the kids were all getting settled down. And dang it, I think she grabbed that phone when we were in the room, and she told me to call my mom. Or she called my mom. Because I was still, kind of pacing around thinking, dang it, I should just go back out there and get him. So I just decided to go back out and get him, Yeah, and then I started getting ready. I'll put my jacket back on, and I don't know. I don't know if you were talking with my mom when I left. Anyway, I was driving out out to where our trailers were. I was passing that exit called that funeral. As I was driving by there, heading out towards where we stayed, I seen in a funeral home there was like a silhouette of, I don't remember if there was one or two, or the windows were like all full of people, and it was just like you could actually see that shadow of a head. I mean, that shadow's head turning, watching me drive by, And it almost turned around there and went back to the worm on it, but I was worried about Jason. So when I got on that road, you can see where our place was from maybe half a mile down the road or a quarter of a mile. The lights were all blinking on and off. Like in almost all of their trailers, even the trailers we didn't have electricity in. And I didn't want to get out of the car, I just pulled up to where his door was. And it was like maybe 15 yards from where I parked to that front door.
Mm-hmm.
And I start honking the horn. And then I noticed, that our dogs weren't around. Just when we pull up, they all come running out and jump. How dogs are. They can recognize the car and greet you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was sitting there honking the horn, and all of a sudden the phone rang, and shit, that scared the shit out of me again, And when you're afraid, and then the phone rang, and it just, I was afraid when that phone rang, and it was Leanne. And she asked me where I was. I told her that I had just gotten out to our place where we lived that time, and she was asking me where I was. I told her where I was, and she's asking me for if I was with Jason. I was telling him, honking the horn. There's no answer. She said, "Your mom." She said, "I was talking to your mom, and she said that she's been trying to reach us for a few days. Calling our landline and everything, and." And she said that every time she called, somebody would just laugh. Somebody would just laugh and then hangs up on her. Or they would just, breathe heavy, and then, or she would go like whispering, like real fast, like people all whispering. She couldn't tell what she couldn't make out what they were saying, on the phone.
Yeah.
And then she said she was trying to get a hold of us. And, as Leanna was telling me, I was honking the horn trying to get Jason's attention so I can get out of there. I asked her, did she happen to say anything else? Why she was calling in the first place? And she said she wanted to know who passed away in that vehicle accident. The day that she called me.
Mm-hmm. She
wanted to know who passed away in there, and then she also said that she wanted to talk to me. And then she told me that I wasn't. She said, keep Jason at your place, I think, or don't let him leave your house or something like that. I told him, I said, well, I can't just leave him here, What did she say anything else? And I think we got cut off then when I was talking to Leanne, as she was telling me what my mom was saying, not to let him go, and she asked him who died first, and that she really needed to talk to me, and that not to let Jason leave our property, And I couldn't figure it out why not. she didn't even know it was Jason that was staying out there. Because in her dream, she didn't know. You know, we found way later. You know, she didn't. She never did know. Find out who Jason was. I told her later it was almost said his real name, but he stayed with us when we were kids. You know, way in the country. That's how I knew him. You know, growing up with him, and you know, like knew him forever. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I was sitting there, and as I was, you know, honking and waiting for him to come out of his room, and he didn't come out. So I got out the car and I started walking towards his door, the 5-door. Get him on there, you know, and I was even hollering out, man, Jason, open up, it's me, you know. And before I was honking the horn and walking towards that door, I was scared. I remember when I was walking towards his door, I remember I heard dogs barking. I thought they were Sadie's, calling Sadie, calling her other dogs, but they're like way off in a distance, you know, like neighbors' dogs barking way out there, you know, you hear sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounded like. They're way out there. And I couldn't tell if they were our dogs or not. Anyway, I walked up to that door where Jason, where he was, and then it wasn't cold out, but all of a sudden it just became real cold, where you can see your breath again. And I remember when I was walking I was still at his door, and then all of a sudden it smelled like poop, really bad poop, you know, in matches. So it reminded me of matches and poop. Sulfur, so it reminded me of.
Oh, jeez.
And my back just felt thick, you know, and like the back of my neck, and the hair in my arms all stood out in the back of my neck. Then all of a sudden I felt sick again. I felt nauseous. I felt like my legs weren't moving, you know. And I was hollering for Jason. I was hollering, "Are you in there?" And I was pounding on the door. Yeah, and I was trying to open the door, but it was locked, and I was trying to find my keys, and then I realized that my keys were still in the car, and the car was running, you know. So I kind of pretty much like stepped off of that porch, and I ran back to the car to get the key to open his door. And when I got to the car, the phone rang again when I got back in the car. I think it was Leanne. She asked me if he was coming in, and she said, "I remember your mom said don't let him leave the place out there." As I was sitting in the car and talking to Leanne, and I looked up, and when I looked up, I can see a shadow, you know, go between my car, but the shadow was on that trailer. You know, the lights that casted a shadow on that trailer, but there was nothing walking between the car, the headlights, and the trailer, you know. But I seen that shadow going across that trailer. It was just a shadow, like moving. It didn't like have arms and legs, you know, where you can see it walking like that, like swinging back and forth. It was just like a shadow move across that wall of that trailer in front of his door, you know, just 15 yards in front of me. But there was nothing came between the headlights to cast the shadow. That's what I'm trying to explain, you know, try to get. And I remember just holding that phone, just looking at this thing walking by, you know, and then you heard them dogs barking way off in the distance, and what was going through my mind is your mom said don't let him leave, you know. I just hung up the phone and stuck in reverse. I didn't even, you know, wait to see if Jason was there. I threw it in reverse, and I was pulling back out on a highway there in front of our trailers, and that's why I parked and began to honk and holler for Jason again. I'd holler, "Jason!" and honk the horn, "Jason!" and the next thing I'd hear somebody saying, "Jason!" You know, mocking me, my voice.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, I don't know how long you've been there, about five more minutes, you know, just honking and waiting. I didn't want to go back over there when I seen that shadow come between my car and that building, when there's nothing to cast a shadow, you know. So I just kept honking and hollering at him, and that every time I'd say, "Jason," and just the way I'd say it, "Jason," I'd hear it back at me. And I holler, Jason! And same thing, Jason! Oh, he didn't sound like me, but just the same way that I'd holler his name. And then I think Leanne called again, or I called Leanne, and she wanted to know what was going on, and I told her that what was going on, and I thought maybe I'd just better come back to Browning, or she said I better just come back to Browning, and after she told me what Mom said about leaving him there, not letting him leave.
Mm-hmm.
So we headed back to town, and I got to town. I didn't tell Leanne everything what happened out there, and but I did explain to her, I didn't want her to know what I seen, but I felt like she needed to, so I told her what happened. It was early in the morning again. She told me just try and get some sleep.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about it in the morning and see what happens tomorrow. But I remember that night when I went to sleep in Warble, as soon as I laid down, I was out. I woke up next day, and Leanne said she paid for it for another night, our room.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids, they seemed like they were like themselves, They didn't seem like traumatized or anything, They were playing around and everything, and they seemed all right. Even Olivia, my oldest girl, she seemed all right. Oh no, I think she was still sleeping, because when I got up, the kids were there and Olivia was there. And I think Olivia was still asleep. I got dressed and I told Leanne, she should have woke me up earlier. Let me sleep pretty much almost the afternoon. She said she was been trying to call out there, but there's no answer. I called out there. There was no answer out there. I think she called out there. There was no answer. I thought we should call out there. He might answer. We didn't even know if he was out there after that. What happened the night before. Got ready and I headed right out there that morning. Like I said, it don't take us long to get out of between here and board school in just a few minutes, from Browning. Anyway, I headed out there, and when I got there, I just seen him. He was looking out his window. I went up there, I was talking to him. I said, Jason, you okay, buddy? And he just shook his head a little bit, I'm okay. He said he was a little sore and stiff and something like that. And then he said, oh, you got some calls from Mike. I said, you got calls from Mike? I told him, I said, well, we've been trying to call, I think, all day. No answer or something. He said he went down to that, our big trailer, I don't know, get a snack or something. But he said he heard the phone ringing or something, but he didn't answer. He just went over there and seen on the thing there, who was calling in.
Mm-hmm.
The caller ID thing. I was asking him, what's happened last night, when we left, did anything else happen? What was going on? I told him I came back out that night, told him I came back out and I was honking, and Leanne called, and where were the dogs and everything, and he just said that nothing really much happened after we left, Said he went to sleep. Said he got up, walked around for a while, checked the trailers, all the trailers, and they said he went back to his room. He went to sleep, and I told him, well, we came right back out. There was nothing going on. I said, if you were checking the trailers when I come up here, you would have came up to the car because I was honking. You can't deny how loud the horn was, And we talked quite a bit. Me and Jason, and again, he was telling me about his mom and dad. He was really worried about him. He was really worried about his baby, and worried about his wife and everything, I told him, get ready. I'll bring you home. Said, I can't right now. He said, I just can't go right now, Angelo. I was out there for a while, and it was daylight, so I kind of felt brave to go back into our trailer. And I think Leanne wanted me to get some stuff for her and the kids, I think. And when I went in there, it was the same thing. It was our house. It was our trailer we lived in. Nothing was amiss. There's nothing, no mess or anything. When I turned on our answering machine, and there was got some messages from Mike, just asking him if I could, call him back. I think he said he's going to be really busy in the next few days, and he really needed me bad, you know. Anyway, he's telling me that I think it was on the third message, or I talked to him. He said that that the family was moving the funeral up a day. You know, they were going to bury this guy a day early, or it was going to be that afternoon. They were supposed to bury him the day before, and they were going to bury him that same afternoon. I think that was why he was behind. And as I was talking to him, my trailer started getting cold again. And I wasn't talking to him. I was listening to the messages, those 3 messages. And the third one was telling me that that family was moving their funeral up for a whole day. I had to go in and you know, see how Mike was. How he was faring at the funeral home, but as I was listening to him, that trailer just started getting cold again. I just hung up. I thought, hey, I ain't going through this, you know. In the daytime, I got out of my trailer and headed out of there. I went to see Jason if he wanted to go home, you know, or just ride with me or staying, you know, kind of hang out for the day, you know, instead of him just being stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you'd come with me, hang out for the day, and, you know, just do it. I told him, you don't have to go home. If you want, I'll bring you home. You can hang out with me or just drive around town, whatever. Get out of here. And he said, nah, it's peaceful out here. It was like I just got hit with like slapped in my face. I just stopped and what? Peaceful? I even told him, I said, hey man, weren't you even here last night? I got back to Brownie and I called Mike on my cell phone. Then he answered and he said, you coming in? Mike said, you coming into the, you coming in, you still sick or what's going on? I told him, well, I got few things I got to take care of first. And he told me it's really crazy over here, Angelo. He said, I know you're sick and supposed to have a day off, but I really need you. The funeral for the guy in that motor vehicle accident that was supposed to be scheduled for tomorrow, and that the family they said they're gonna move it up. So I told him, I said, let me be there. I'll be there in an hour, but I'll give you a hand. And I'll tell him I got some things I need to do. And he said, it'd be good if you can get here sooner. And I said, I'll get there as soon as I can. And he sounded disappointed and everything, but I told Leanna, I said, we need to find out what the hell's going on with these two, that Jason, and why he didn't want to go home, you know. I think Leanna needed to go see Jason's honey anyway to invite him to a birthday dinner or something. I told Leanne, well, I'll pick you up at Warbonnet, and she already sent my kids out that afternoon, I think, with my brother David, to go down and spend some time with my mom and Harvey. And one day she sent them out with my brother and my kids. Yeah. And I picked Leanne up at the Warbonnet, and we went over to I think it was Annette's house. But when we got there, I don't think he was home that time when we went over there. Her car wasn't there. So we just kind of, Browning ain't very big. You drive around and you find somebody sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
Must have been driving around for about 15 minutes looking for her. We drove by our house a few times. So we went out to I think it was Jason's dad's place. Went out there looking for Annette, and we went up to his dad, and I said, "Hey, Jim," I'll call him Jim or James, or whatever. And he said, "Oh, what brings you guys out here? You looking for my boy too?" I said, "Well, we're looking for Leanna's looking for Annette. Leanna wanted to talk to her, and he said, well, you just missed her. I guess they dropped off their baby, Kim, so, and that was going to go look for Jason that afternoon. So Jim and his wife were babysitting that baby Kim so Annette can go look for Jason. And that's why he was asking if we were there looking for him too, Annette must have told him that, I don't know. He told him something anyhow. he thought we were looking for Jason, but we were looking for his missus. Well, after we told Jim that would, probably he told us you guys need to come and visit sometimes, and we told him, yeah, we'll stop by and visit and stop in again. And well, anyhow, we small talk with Jim, and I didn't get to see his mom that day. Just talked with Jim, I think. He's Jason's dad. We were driving all over. Went out to Last Star Homes, or Glacier Homes, back and forth all over town. And I told him, let's stop at that funeral home and check on Mike, see how he's doing. And if I have to, I'll just stay there with him. So I got in there and I walked in the funeral home. Hey, Mike you here? And he said, yeah, come back here. I went back there and he said, oh, good. Did you come to work? And he said, tell me, I wasn't expecting you for a minute. I said, well, we're kind of busy. I just drove by. I thought I'd just stop in and check on you for, I'll let you know that I'll be a minute and I'll be back at work. Leanne and I was looking for some friends of ours. It's kind of important, that we get a hold of them. And when I was telling him that, Leanne came in and she said, I found her. She said, she's over at her father-in-law's. I said, we just come from there. I said, how did you find her? And yeah, she's telling me about her cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
I told Mike, I said, sorry, Mike, I'll be back as soon as I can. And we headed out, and he said, well, bring him back. She's my only help. I need him as soon as you can, yeah. We went to Annette's house and pulled up there and walked inside, and Leanna's telling me, are you gonna tell her that Jason's at the house? I told him, well, if she asks, I'll tell her, but maybe we should tell her that we thought we'll see, we'll talk with her, see what's going on, Annette said she was over at Jason's dad's house, and then he said that we were looking for him. She was asking us what's going on. And she was asking me, what I was asking her about Jason. And she was telling me that they were had a fight, a few days earlier, argument, fighting over money, and I'll give you an example. Say me and my wife, we've been together 40 years, huh, honey?
Yeah.
It's not always, a bed of roses,
Mm-hmm.
We have our times, and we have our squabbles and fights and stuff like that, but nothing to where I would get up and pack up and leave,
Yeah.
Nothing to where anything that serious, whether it comes to money or no matter the severity of our arguments, we always try to talk it through, We never try to be angry with one another to that point where we just separate from one another. And that's what was going on with them. And she was telling me, when did you come and cry on your shoulder? I know you guys talk all the time, And I said, no, I was just wondering, what's going on, how you guys are doing and everything. And yeah, told her that she wanted to come invite her to a birthday dinner as well, She was asking me if I talked to him, because she didn't know what was bothering him, why he would leave like that. And they were fighting over money, and she said he just got really mad and just packed some stuff up in his duffel bag and left. She said, I haven't seen him or talked to him since. She said, you didn't call or anything? No, I didn't call. Yeah, and she just brought me back over to Mike's.
Mm-hmm.
I was loading up everything, and he was already going to the house, because for the last viewing and everything like that. And I had some extra help there, so I wasn't too afraid of being in that funeral by myself at that moment. I went to the gravesite and set up, and then when I finished up there, and then I went to meet with Mike back at the house, and all I had to do was just sit outside and wait for him for the last viewing, and where they would haul everything out, like flowers and stuff like that. And I was driving a pallbearers in that big Suburban that guy had.
Mhm.
So I pulled up to the house, and like I seen Mike, he was waving me in. So like jumped off, ran up there. I opened all the doors to the Suburban so we could load the flowers and everything we needed. And so we got everything loaded. So we were standing there. Mike was standing on one side of the coffin, and I think I was standing at the foot, and everybody was streaming by, getting their last goodbyes. And there's a key that you put in that casket, and it locks it, but it also a little key, and you turn it, and it makes the head go down, the pillow up portion. And while he was doing that and folding in all the everything inside the casket so we can seal it, and we get all that done, and while we were doing that, I kind of heard a knock on there, like it was muffled by the material inside of that coffin. And I stood straight up and looked at Mike. I thought he heard it,
Yeah.
I've been coming to hear something. He said no. He said, "Come on, focus. Let's be professionals here, Angelo." He didn't say it out loud, everybody can hear me, but hear him.
Mhm.
I heard him, and I said, "Yeah, I got the pallbearers come in. He loaded the body in a pallbearer in a hearse, and they all start piling in that Suburban that I was driving. And then I was listening to them. You know how they all joke around. They're all sitting there joking around. The guy, one of them, he said, I don't know which one it was, but he said they were talking about like I said, "Gee, hey, guys hear what happened last night?" Everybody's listening. What happened? No, last night. Was you guys here? Was any of you guys here? And one of them said that he was here. One of them pallbearers spoke up. He said there was just a few of them. I think he said that was up. He said some guy walked in. He said none of us knew this guy that walked in. It was a stranger. They said he was really well dressed, black pointy shoes, real well dressed guy,
Mhm.
And he was telling me and telling everybody, and the other guy was said, "Well, who did you see? Who you dressed? I didn't see no well dressed guy. I seen an old ugly hobo looking guy come in asking for Jason."
Hmm.
And everyone was saying, "Jason." They were wondering, Jason who? And everybody's sitting there. I was the only one that spoke up, but I said the only Jason I know is my friend. They say he just came in, sat there. I guess that guy was even sniffing that corpse.
Cool.
I mean, yeah, went up, smelled it in the face, smelling it like that, and went and sat down for a long time just looking at it. They were talking, and about that point, we were coming up to the church, they're going to bring this body into the church. And we were at that church, I went outside, and I was smoking a cigarette, and, thinking of everything that I'm going through, man. I'm losing my mind. I was thinking, well, I'm going to go to church and confess and this and that, go to Catholic church, And I remember sitting, because it was pretty warm, I was sitting on a Catholic church steps down there, and I was smoking a cigarette, and it was about that point when people should begin to come out to to bring the body to the ground,
Mhm.
and we followed them all the way up to the grave site. And when we were there, I seen this guy. And every time I seen this guy, he was always on the opposite side of me at that gravesite. I kept looking for Mike, I told him, Mike, something's not wrong with this. Something's not right with this, Mike. And I'd fight this guy up. Look at this guy over here. You see that guy, and he could never see him. Well, what's he wearing? There's all kinds of guys over there. He's off to the side, by the hearse. Everybody's around the grave. And I kept pointing him out. He could never see him. He could never see who I was trying to point to, that Mike. I said, there he is. He was walking right there. You just couldn't see him. And every time I seen him, it was like his eyes were just like open. I never seen him blink. I never seen him open his mouth. I never seen his eyes move from side to side. They were just like great, always looking at you or looking away from you or something. Anyway, after the funeral, everything went okay. I guess this funeral's going. We went back to the funeral home and began to unload everything again. I was putting stuff away and thinking about everything. Mike was talking to me. I don't know what the heck he was saying, but he was telling me something. And finally he said, hey, Angelo, you hear me listening? I thought, oh, I'm thinking about some stuff, Mike. And he said, oh, I guess. And I told him, I said, let me get everything sorted out myself and see what's going on. And I told him, I said, you didn't seem too busy like you needed me in the first place, Mike. Oh, this is where really gets me, man. We were at that funeral home and shit. I didn't even know. I didn't even know, man. But oh god, it's like almost like getting a panic attack right now. He pointed towards that cooler. He said, "Well, I needed you. We got another guest here. Why I needed you, I said, okay, I think I said, I'll come in the first thing in the morning. I told him, up for good night, and I saw him, and Leanne told him good night, or I told him good night. And I told Leanne, I said, Leanne, let's go home. I need to talk to Jason, and we need to maybe pick up Annette, take her out with us, or go get Jason, or do something. We need to see what's going on with their family. They're good friends of ours, and I went out to our land, that property where we had, and I went in there. I went in a big trailer. I think it's like I can hear everything from the night before, even the gunshot. I seen that hole in the floor. I remember I was standing right where I stood, and I was looking at that thing that was in my room that night before. Yeah, I went over to that to where Jason. Where that room we let him stay in, and I told him, I said, Jason, we're gonna have to talk. I said, what's going on? You can talk to me. I'm your friend. I'm your brother. I know you since we were kids. You got a wife, you got a child, your folks. Everybody's worried about you. We need to talk with me, Jason. What's going on? What happened? What did you do? You told me you did something the other day, but something you didn't do. And I was just, hitting him with all of this stuff, just getting demanding towards him, And he just sat there. He didn't say anything. All he'd do, he'd mumble some words about Kim and about his wife and about his folks. And I said, what happened, Jason? And I remember these words he told me. He said, I never hurt anybody. That's what you're worried about, Angelo. I didn't hurt anybody. And I told him, I said, Jason, you want to be with your baby and your wife? And again, he was just quiet, nothing. He didn't say nothing. Just shake his head. I think, my friend, man, I want everything to work out for you. Jason, I told him your folks are worried about you. Your baby's worried about you. Your wife's worried about you. Everybody, I said, I'm worried about you. I said, what are we going to do? We're going to do something. We need, come on, I'll bring you home, partner. And when I told him home, he's kind of like lightened up a little bit and said, home, home. I said, yeah, come on, home, let's go. Let's go, I'll bring you right now, come on. I said, Jason, there's somebody was looking for you. They were telling me at that wake, somebody was looking for you. You, Jason, looking for you. They might come back. Look what's going on. What happened? What if we're not here tonight? What's going to happen? I told him, come on, home. He said, home. I remember he said, home. We went back. We walked up and grabbed his bag. Then he got in the car and I was driving towards Browning, and he was sitting there, and I remember turning on the radio at that FM station in Cutbank. A country tune was playing, and he was even batting his hand against the door, with the tune. He seemed like genuinely happy to be going home,
Yeah.
And I told him, Jason, I got one stop, and I'll bring you home. All right, I pulled in at funeral home, and I was gonna go in there and talk to Mike, and then Jason, he jumped out of the van and come around and gave me a hug. To this day, I can actually feel his hug. He hugged me so tight. He said, "I love you, bro." He said, "I love you too." He said, "Thanks for everything." He said, "I'm good now." He said, "I'll walk home." I said, "You sure? It won't take me about a minute. I'll bring you home." He said, "No, I'll walk home." And I said, "Okay." I remember going inside there at that funeral home, and Mike, he was sitting there. He said, "You told me I want to talk to you at home." I said, "Yeah," and I bring a friend back to town, and I thought I'd stop in. And he said, "That guy that we put in the ground today, yeah." He said, "Well, he crashed, avoid hitting our guest in there." And then when we both walked in there, that's all they remember. And I woke up in the hospital. I think it was the next day or day after I woke up in the hospital. But when I walked in, I remember hugging Jason outside. I remember walking inside, and he telling me that the guy we put in the ground today, he wrecked, avoid hitting the fella in that other room. We walked in there, and it was Jason. He was laying on that bed.
Oh, shit.
And my mom, she's gone now. I wish I could have asked her so many questions. What did you see? What happened? And then after the story I wrote, there was some people were sending me questions and asking me what happened. I told them I don't know. I said, what happened when you seen Jason? When you said it was Jason, I said, I don't know. I woke up in the hospital. They said I had a nervous breakdown or something. And I went to his funeral. I went to Jason's funeral and sat there and waited for him. 4 days waiting for him to move. Waiting for him to say something, but nothing. That's my story, and that's the one that Jenny really encouraged me to share.
Yeah. So for all the people out there listening, what Angelo did was he wrote this story and he posted it to the Facebook group called Ghost Stories from the Res. And you can search this story, just search Angelo BullPlume, and you'll find the story on Ghost Stories from the Res to read it yourself. And my Aunt Jenny, the one who just passed away recently, she's by now I'll have released her other episode that was a paid only episode. That'll be out by the time you guys are hearing this. But she was the one that really encouraged Angelo to come on the show, and gave me his contact information. I reached out, and we spoke at Angelo and I spoke at Jenny's wake, and we kind of agreed that he would come on the show, and I'd make time for him, and we'd get his story out too. And he's been telling me that he's thought a lot about Jenny and her encouraging him to come on, and he finally just did it.
Yeah. Jenny was she's real special lady to me and my wife Leanne.
Uh-huh.
We've traveled with her before, and she just became a real special friend in our lives,
Jenny was also a big part of my life too. Again, I just can't thank her enough for everything she's done for the show and for everybody, really, everybody's life that she touched. She did it in a good way, and she had a lot of knowledge. She was just a really good person, and the world is less without her. So since the episode was so long, we're going to be doing the patron episode next. So in this patron episode, it's going to be with Angelo, and what he does, what I do, him and I have this Q&A with him. And I ask him questions about the last show that was just on. So on that patron episode, that's where the Q&A takes place, and his wife's there with him. She was with him on this podcast too. But she was with him toward the end, and she goes through and tells a bunch of stories herself. She's got a lot of ghost stories too, so we tell more ghost stories toward the end. So it's going to be a really good episode. You know, if you ain't a patron, go ahead and go over to Patreon and sign up for an account. Get yourself a little $5 membership, and you know, there you go. You got the membership, or the episodes right there. And so yeah, that one will be released, and I want to do one more patron episode this month, and so I'll put out 2 for you guys. But anyways, yeah, that's what we got coming next week. So till next time.